Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I've just got out of bed and it's bloody freezing. I forgot to put the heating on. Anyway, I wanted to do a video. About the British Boxing Board of Control's demotion of JohnLewis. And in case you're not aware of this comes off the back of the Catterall-Taylor robbery. And there was a statement issued, signed by Robert W. Smith, the General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control. JohnLewis, in case you've forgotten or you weren't aware, scored the fight for Taylor 114, 111, 113, 110, something like that. 3 points anyway, which is just downright absurd. I'm going to read you the statement first of all. So it says, Mr. JohnLewis, appearance before the British Boxing Board of Control. Following an internal interview of the scoring of the Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall contest by all three appointed judges, the stewards of the board decided to call Mr. JohnLewis to appear before them to explain his returned card. Having considered Mr. JohnLewis's explanation, the stewards of the board decided to downgrade Mr. JohnLewis from an A-star class to an A-class official. We'll come to that later. Whilst the board were satisfied that Mr. JohnLewis's scorecard did not affect the overall result of the contest, the stewards of the board did have an issue with his margin. 113, 110, 114, 111, whatever it was. 113, 110, I think it was. As the regulatory body for the sport in Great Britain, the British Boxing Board of Control continue to improve and maintain the high quality and consistency in scoring by our licensed officials. As such, the stewards of the board have further decided that in addition to each A-star class official being evaluated after each bout, as per current procedure, they will now also be subject to a separate individual annual review. Finally, the British Boxing Board of Control have contacted the WBO, WBC, IBF and WBA, supporting Jack Catterall to be made mandatory challenger for each or all championship sanctioning bodies. So, let's have a quick sift through that. So, JohnLewis, who, by the way, I have for years had a low opinion of as both a referee and a judge. I think he's extremely flawed. He has been downgraded from A-star class to an A-class official. Now, I'm not sure what this means because I know an A-star class referee can referee world championship fights. They're like that's the zenith of the refereeing profession. You are considered qualified to judge world championship fights, referee them, so on and so forth. But downgraded to an A-class official, I don't know what that means. And I went on to the board's website to look for some sort of definition and I couldn't find one. And I even Googled these phrases, A-class. I couldn't find a definition. I'm talking about a proper definition of it. So whether this is a punishment or an actual demotion even, I don't know. As far as reviewing the work of all the A-star class officials, the board states that they are already evaluated after each bout, but there's going to be an annual review presumably of their license. Okay, well, that's not a bad thing, but nevertheless, it does smack of being maybe not a token gesture, but something that has an element of damage limitation to it. As does the piece in this statement regarding supporting Jack Catterall and, in any sort of efforts to have high ranking reinstated with all the sanctioning bodies. That seems again to be a little bit, well, Jack, we can't do anything, mate, and, it's unfortunate what happened, but at the same time, it was a close fight, and but we're going to support you in the future. There's a good boy. The bit that I object to most in this is, whilst the board was satisfied that Mr. JohnLewis' scorecard did not affect the overall result of the contest, the stewards of the boxing board did have issue with his margin. Well, to say that it didn't affect the result of the contest is complete nonsense. He voted for the wrong person, or who most people consider to be the wrong person. So how can it not affect the result? He's voted for the very particular guy who 99% of people consider to be the wrong person to vote to score for. But the stewards did have issue with his margin. Again, damage limitation is sort of fudging the issue. Well, you know, he's all right, JohnLewis, but we know perhaps it was a bit wide. Much of a muchness. No, it's not much of a muchness. It's not much of a muchness. Victor Loughran, I think, voted for Catterall for Taylor by 1 point. I think that's wrong as well. So this does kind of smack of trying to appease everyone, and as we know, if you try to be all things to all people, you end up probably satisfying no one. So yes, damage limitation. Those are the two words that spring to my mind. What do you think of this? I don't think anything's really been implemented, apart from the annual review thing, which again, token gesture. To me, it's not good enough. And I think Jack Catterall himself has released a statement saying not nearly enough or something like that. I'm not on Twitter, but he retweeted this statement and just said above, not nearly enough. And I can understand that. As far as and I know I've made other videos about this, sort of ad infinitum, I keep going on about this, but I'm so outraged. I do think that this is genuinely one of the worst robberies I've ever seen in 40 plus years of watching boxing. And people say, oh, what are you talking about? Robberies are commonplace. There are some absolutely horrendous cards, and yeah, there are robberies are not uncommon. Ritson against Vasquez to me was an atrocious decision. Even sometimes you see the small hall fights. Well, I think there are extenuating circumstances with the one I'm going to mention, but I think it's because of his name, Campbell Hatton. Sonny Martinez won just about every round against Campbell Hatton in, I think it was a 6th rounder, was it? And Hatton got a 1 point decision. To me, I find it difficult to believe that is not a scorecard that's been filled out before the fight, or at the very least, the referee in question has been told Hatton's winning, Campbell Hatton's winning. All right. You rewatch the fights, you just wonder what could they be looking at? Even if you're playing devil's advocate and trying to, give all the swing rounds to one person, it's just not possible. So yes, there are a lot of very, very, very questionable decisions. But this one, the Catterall Taylor one, because there was so much at stake, and it was so absolutely outrageous that this guy who spent his entire life building towards that moment and achieves it. He achieves it. So for 3 minutes between the final bell and the scorecards being announced, he is living his dream. He's achieved his ambitions, and then to have it robbed from him in such a heinous, egregious way, I thought was just disgusting beyond belief. Absolutely disgusting. And I've heard it said, Ben Davison says this, and some other people have said this, well, in America, they thought it was a close fight. I don't know why they think that. I don't know how they think that, unless they're giving points for someone simply walking forward. There were rounds that were very, very scrappy, but I simply don't agree that this was a close fight at all. I think it's one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. So, anyway, enough of that. I'm getting into rant mode again, but what did you think of the board statement? Leave your comments below. Yeah. Issue fudging, innit? Damage limitation for me anyway. But leave your comments below, leave your thoughts below. Thanks for watching this video. If you're new to the channel and you could subscribe, hit the subscribe button. That would be a massive help. Subscribe, it only takes a second, and you've done it. Like the video if you like this video. We've got the weekend coming up. Got one more day of work and then weekend, but more boxing. Take care of yourselves, have fun. We'll speak again soon. Bye bye for now.